All right, it is 9 o'clock. The kids are in bed. The prayers have been said.
Oh, come on. That's what you came up. Okay.
Yeah, I've been working on this all day.
All right.
It is now time for the Paredox podcast. I'm your host, Gabe Miller, sitting here with Andrew. And we are a podcast. We are going to be a podcast talking about being parents. You're the parent of 5 children?
5, yes. Yeah.
It's crazy every time I say it.
No, I know. 5,
And I'm a new parent, so we got a perspective of, a seasoned vet and a newbie to this whole parental thing. But more importantly than that, we are going to be framing it in the lens of trying to be good Orthodox Christians.
Good Orthodox Christians, yeah. Wow, that's not a bad intro.
That wasn't,
Yeah.
I mean, the kids are in bed thing.
The kids are in bed, yeah.
The prayers have been said. It almost has a rhyme to it.
I can tell you were probably like cutting onions or something like that, and that came in, you're like, that's it. That's the one. That's the one we're going to do. And then you just were like, okay, cool. I wrote that down.
That's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
Although I wasn't cutting onions, what I was doing was I was actually standing on my back porch prepping for tonight, and I was like, what kind of an intro can we have? Because we don't have a theme song. Although one day,
hey, I could probably poop out a theme song, no problem. I mean, I just give me a half hour on a keyboard and things will work out. So.
I do not want to hear. Actually, I do want to hear what you would come up with, because I think
you know what it sounds like. It sounds like the dramatic music from like the Law and Order. Like the show Law and Order when they're like finally confronting the killer. It's like that. And it's like that really synthy like string sound that comes in. Yeah.
Did you notice in Law and Order that the guy, the person on the stand always confesses? Like most of the time, they go, "All right, you know what? I did make that person, and I enjoyed it." And they're like, "Bingo!"
Did you ever watch Community? The show Community.
Oh, yeah.
In the Law and Order episode, that's actually what ends up happening in the end, and I think because it's such a trope of Law and Order, is like, the person's gonna end up confessing on the stand and be like, I'm not fighting your wars anymore, and they end up like screaming in the middle of the courtroom, but
this is what the podcast is gonna be about. Actually, it's a community Law and Order podcast.
Hey, I'd be absolutely down. So I think the original Law and Order was much better than SVU. So
I was referring to SVU when I was thinking of the confession thing.
I think it's a trope on all of them.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
okay.
I think
my wife loves SVU. Speaking of wives, can we get back on topic here, Andrew?
So then the other thing that we gotta say is that we're just 2 Orthodox laymen. We don't really necessarily know what we're talking about all the time.
Clue.
So if you hear something that's kind of like, ooh, I don't know about that, and talk to your priest, obviously. Talk to your spiritual father or whatever, because we certainly don't.
We're trying to figure it out.
We're trying to figure out, and I certainly don't want to lead anyone astray. I don't need to answer for that later on.
And your other podcast, The Royal Path, is a really good starting point to. Well, maybe not a starting point, but
this project exists on its own. Let's not bring Royal Path into this. Let's not bring that in.
Well, I'm hoping that we can get some of the clout.
Maybe we will.
I'm a clout chaser.
You're a clout chaser. You're a clout kicker.
But yes, we want everyone to have fun listening to this podcast. I mean, we're going to talk about a lot of silly things. We're going to talk about a lot of pop culture stuff because me and you are nerds.
Yeah.
Music, comics, all that kind of stuff. But most of all, we're dads.
Sure.
And we're Christians.
Sure.
And we're trying to figure out this crazy existence that we're all living in the 21st century. I mean, look, we look like hopefully our production values will increase over time.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. It's not important enough for me to focus on, but I mean, what is important is that we're just trying to figure this out. So, don't take everything that we say so seriously. We're having fun.
Yeah.
Because, being a parent is crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I've only been a parent for 4 months. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think that like, being the quote unquote seasoned veteran only goes so far, because really I've only been like a father to my children with my wife. My older 2 were pretty independent of me, not necessarily by my choice. So it's not like I've been doing this for like 2 decades or anything. Like my oldest daughter's 18, but it's not like I've really been like a dad, like a father since like my daughter Louise was born in 2016.
Right.
Louise Zenya. So Maddie and Jada, my two older ones, which is 18 and I think 16.
I'm saying hi to them in case they're watching.
What up? How's it hanging? I mean, yeah, we certainly, we're cool now. Like, we
Right.
definitely talk and stuff, but, like, I wasn't, like, doing the diapers and, like,
Okay.
waking up in the middle of the night and stuff like that. More of that was, like an emotional thing. So, because,
Right.
like, the how do you navigate that being a teenager and blah, blah, blah. But...
Because you were very young, obviously.
Oh,
very
yeah,
young.
yeah. No, I'm only 34 now. So I
the
was
math,
very,
guys.
very young. I'm not going to do the math now.
Well, I'm asking them, the listener/viewer at home too.
Yeah, you do the
the
math.
math.
Yeah, you're not gonna get that from me. So, I mean, really, it's only been about since 2016 that really I've been in the trenches of the day-to-day like existence of being a parent, like the day in, the day out, the all the stuff that comes with that. So, but 4.5 years is 4.5 years. I mean,
The cat's
so
eating.
yeah, the cat's eating. Yeah. So,
So you've been in the trenches 4 years.
Sure.
I've been in 4 months, so we have a 4.
There's a 4 and a
If
4.
you're into numerology, that might mean something somewhere.
Hey, that'll mean
but if you're
something
into
to you somewhere.
numerology, don't watch this podcast.
Yeah, we might disagree.
Or
on
actually,
some
do
stuff.
watch this podcast.
Hey,
Or
that's not a
listen to
bad
this
idea.
podcast
Hey, don't turn
because-
it off yet.
Yeah, don't turn. If you haven't turned us off yet, congratulations.
Hey, there you go.
This is a monumental occasion for you and your listening experience.
Yeah. So, what have you noticed? What's the biggest things that you've noticed since becoming a parent?
Poop.
Poop is a big one, man.
But things change every day. Like, whereas the first 2 months, it was like this celebratory, she has to poop. Why
Yeah.
isn't she pooping?
Uh-huh.
What is the consistency?
Sure.
What is the color?
Sure.
And then it's high fives all around when she does. Right?
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
like, oh my gosh, it's happened. This is a victory.
Yeah.
Now, I don't care as much, right? The poop is going to happen. And if it doesn't, we move on with our lives.
Okay, but do you suffer any ramifications for a lack of a good bowel movement from your
Yes,
daughter?
all of them.
Okay, what are those?
The fussiness, she spits up more.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe because there ain't room in her tummy. I'm not a
Yeah.
doctor. I don't know anything.
Hey, I mean, it doesn't take a doctor to look at a balloon and be like, well, I probably can't fit any more like water or air into this balloon without it coming back out.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah.
So there's definitely that. There's the fussiness. There's spitting up. There's the overall irritability. But I mean, it's weird because my focus shifts into different things now. So it's like now the big thing is naps.
Naps. Okay. What's
She
going on
hates-
with naps?
She hates napping
Okay.
unless I'm holding her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Going
yeah,
down for bed, I can put her down right now because
Is it-
it's 9:00 in the big anyways.
Yeah, and
I'm gonna keep going back to that.
Yeah.
I could put her down right now and she's gonna go to sleep in her crib and she's out all night. It's great.
Yeah.
Right? Or she'll wake up every 5 hours to get a bottle
Sure,
or whatever. But
sure.
it's great. But during the day, there's
During the
something
day.
about it where if I put her down, boom, eyes are open.
Yeah.
And like, don't put me down.
Yeah.
How do I work, Andrew, when I'm holding a baby?
Well, it's difficult, and I could tell you a couple different things. Is you'll get really good at one-handed typing and one-handed texting.
Really?
Yeah, that's a thing.
Okay.
I know that
I'll look
people.
forward to that.
Well, I mean, I know some people. Yeah, it's not really that funny, but it's like the voice to text thing is a thing. But
you know me. I'm the voice
oh
king
yeah,
on
you
our
are.
signal
That's true.
groups,
That's
know?
true. That's true.
Which most people hate me for.
I mean, it is kind of a meme. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
Gabe sends the voice,
Voice message.
Yeah,
That's
which
me.
is, but it makes my life a little bit easier because sometimes I'm driving, and then I'll see you and I just click it and it plays over, and then suddenly I've got Gabe 360. Like Gabe's in the front, he's in the front speakers and in the back, and so
I'm driving the car now.
Yeah, you're pretty much driving the car.
Take your hands off the wheel. I've got it from here.
What's the Knight Rider? What's the guy's name from Knight Rider?
Kit.
Not Kit. Who's the
Michael Knight.
Michael? Okay, yeah. Be like Michael. There's road construction coming up. I'm like, I see it, Kit. Thank you. I see it.
Thank you.
I'm in.
So wait, am I Kit in this scenario?
Well, yeah, you'd have to be because you're the you're
'cause
the
I'm the
voice over the
speaker.
speaker.
Got
Yeah.
it,
Otherwise,
got it.
it doesn't
But
make
I've
any
always kind
sense.
of wanted to be Michael Knight, anyways.
Oh, that's an issue for a different time.
Yeah.
We'll come back to that. We'll circle back to that.
The voice message thing is easy. So it's easier to do the one-handed texting, one-handed.
Yeah, I mean, so my daughter was the same. My oldest, my Louise of my children with my wife. She was like a pretty difficult baby. She like was very colicky, and she never wanted to be set down like ever. Like I don't think we could like set her down for more than like maybe 10-15 minutes for like the first like year. Like
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty intense.
Wow.
And when my wife was working, I pretty much had to get up at 5 in the morning and then go to work and be home by like I get home about 2, and pretty much my wife and I would high five each other, and she'd leave to go work at her job.
Right.
And pretty much I would just have to walk back and forth all night from like my living room to my kitchen, back to my living room, back to my kitchen all night, just holding my daughter. And she'd only fall asleep to one album, and that was Sia, Thousand Forms of Fear. You know the artist Sia. She did that song Chandelier. Elastic Heart. It's actually a pretty awesome album. Okay. And like it's one of those albums that when I listen to it certainly takes me back to a very, very specific time in my life, which is this time.
Okay.
And it was probably like the hardest time I've been through in the last couple of years. It was pretty brutal. Not the hardest that anybody's ever had it, but it was a really hard adjustment. And Louise is 100% worth it, but she was without a doubt an extremely difficult baby.
So that brings up an interesting point, actually. What we were kind of talking about at church this last Sunday is how does that? So what I've been doing. So my question is, how does that affect your prayer life, your spiritual life? But what I've been doing is, because I'm trying to get back into my morning prayers, because it's super, super important for my mental health. I cannot stress to you guys enough. I've struggled with addiction my entire life to various forms of everything.
Sure.
But having that morning prayer rule really helps me.
Man.
And what I found recently is that like what I do is because I'm way more of a morning person than my wife is. So I'll be the first one to feed her in the morning.
Sure.
So what I do is I'll light the lampada in the prayer quarter, and then I'll turn on the morning prayers on my phone and just sit there with her and feed her.
Oh, fantastic. Beautiful.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Because I feel kind of bad that I'm not like reading it or whatever.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean,
but it's kind of like being at church in a way where she would be listening to someone else.
Yeah, no. It's really really important. It's really important. See, this gets into a whole thing. How it has affected my spiritual life is, I mean, detrimentally. Like, I mean, no. Monumentally is the word I want to use. It's about 85 to 90% of my spiritual life is my kids. Okay. It is like incredibly important to maintain a certain atmosphere within your home. Like, and it needs to be prayerful. Prayerful because like I think we've all seen homes that are just full of like anger and antagonistic, like people are antagonistic towards each other. And the thing is like we as Orthodox don't have like the privilege of separating the spiritual from the physical. We know that one directly impacts the other. So our spiritual life has to be healthy, and if it's not healthy in our home, then like, you know, like people sometimes just say like you just have like a bad chemistry as like a family, like they're always arguing. It's like, well, a lot of that has to be spiritual, like and you know, I don't have many teachings of like the fathers to back me up on this, but I've had it confirmed by a couple people I trust spiritually that like demons are very, very interested in
children, right?
Well, yeah, and one important aspect of the children is perpetuating cycles. Okay. Perpetuating really negative cycles. So if let me pick an example that's not like applicable to anybody that I know, so I don't think that anybody's like I'm picking on anybody. But say like overeating. Yeah, that's a good one. So if a parent's overeat, they tend to probably give their children bigger portions, and the children,
okay.
yeah.
I'm
So
following you. Okay.
it takes more for a person who's like overweight, to get full, so they kind of pass that on. And not that necessarily being like 30, 40 pounds, whatever, is overweight, or it is overweight, but it's not negative,
Right.
not like, but it's they're really, really interested in making sure that gets passed like the next generation. So
That's interesting. Okay.
keeping a healthy spiritual atmosphere in your home, because it's your little church, it's your little
Right.
monastery, it's your
Right.
little fortress.
Right.
It's where everything that helps shape your child, for everything from cleanliness to the feelings to like the routine, everything. It's all incredibly important, and prayer is a huge part of that. Actually, as part of prayer rule, I say a kathisma every night, which is just a selection of psalms. And that's what my kids fall asleep to every night. So like we get them all ready in their jammies, and like my son still has a bottle because he's only 2.5. Well, maybe he should be getting rid of it by now, but it works.
You're all thinking about who you're like, okay. Yeah.
It works for now, and his teeth still look good. So
That's another thing that we were going to talk about is what works. Anyways.
yeah. So
So you fall asleep to kathismas?
yeah, they fall asleep to me praying.
Okay.
And then if they don't fall asleep, then I generally take them into their room. And then I try and still keep praying. Like I want them to be falling asleep to prayers. And there's the only thing I really expect of them in the morning when we pray is at a certain point in the Jordanville asks for your personal intercessions.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'll just ask them who they want to pray for. So they're still attentive. They're still thinking of other people and stuff like that. So,
Sure.
mama, dada, nana, like that kind of stuff, to help keep them engaged and focused. And then, I'll be quiet after this, but like, a lot of times, like, according to the house, like there can be, it can be so strong, like the negativity can be so strong that like as a family, you guys like need to do prostrations together. Like if you screw up to your child, like blow up at your kid, maybe when they're a little bit older, when they're recognizing like, wow, dad is freaking out right now for no reason. Like, I don't know what's going on. Like you want to be able to get into a place.
Which is going to happen.
Oh.
It happens. Everybody.
It's not happened to me yet. Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
well,
so
I mean, everyone except for Andrew.
Everyone except
That's
for me.
what I meant to say. I was like, Andrew doesn't do that stuff.
No, are you kidding me? I'm not some weirdo.
Yeah.
But you need to be able to like prostrate before your kid and like fully like and say like, I tell my wife, it's like it's not so much about the arguing, it's about the forgiveness afterwards. So like if my wife and I argue in front of our kids, we try and apologize to each other in front of our kids, do the kiss of peace, and all that stuff. So this gets into a whole other thing, and I won't go on about it because I know I've been talking a lot, but this goes into a whole thing of like, what does it go into a whole thing of? I can't remember. Oh, I wouldn't be doing this. I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't have children. If I didn't need to maintain this atmosphere, I wouldn't do it. Like, I am actually more on time for liturgy now that I have 3 kids
than you were.
When I was single. Like, or not single, but childless, and when it was just my wife and I, there's more pressure. There's a bigger need. Like, I need more of God's help. And I think this is, one of the reasons why we have children, is we have a cross. It's something that we need help carrying. So,
they expose. I mean, I've learned, again, in the very short time I've been a dad, I've learned that Eloise, my daughter, is like, has exposed every single weakness that I have as a person, which either I was aware of and just kind of brushed it to the side because it was never a pressing issue, or like it's right there glaring in my face.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, we have these weird self-perceptions of ourselves. Like I always thought that I was very patient, all this kind of stuff. And then having Eloise, I'm like, I'm not patient at all.
Oh, yeah.
Because she tries that patience, and I'm like, and then sometimes I'm like, she's a baby. What do you want?
I know.
Like I say that to myself. I'm like, what do you want, dude?
It's not rational at the time.
No,
though.
yeah,
like,
I mean,
I'm like, oh, this Thinking baby.
Will you stop crying?
Yeah, for real.
Stop crying.
Like
what
saying
do you need?
saying that into her face is gonna do anything.
Right.
Like, it's not gonna do anything. But I still do it. I'm my 4-month-old.
Yep.
I still do it to her.
Tonight I was, because my wife went back to work at her job, and where this is a big adjustment, and Eloise was crying, and I picked her up, and I was like, what do you want? Like, your clothes, because in my brain, I fixed everything. What more do you want? And I'm like, and then I stopped myself. I'm like, she's a baby, dude. What are you
She's
doing?
a baby.
She's
a baby. Oh, yeah, priest told me one time it's the rational trying to deal with the irrational. And that only leads to insanity on your part. Right. So, yeah.
I've everything changes, like literally the concerns, the worries. She's already had her first sickness. All this other kind of stuff, like all these things change and morph almost daily for me.
Yeah.
Like about concerns and about needs and all this other kind of stuff. And like, I'm so self-obsessed, and I have to have everything my way.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, I need to get sleep tonight. Don't you dare wake me up, young lady. And then when I wake up, I'm like, what am I, like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I know.
But kids make you realize, or for me, made me realize how extremely selfish I was in my life. Because me and my wife, let's be honest, we had a great life.
Sure.
We have a better life now.
Sure.
But it's different. Before we could travel wherever we wanted to, throw money and barrel roll into it.
If you wanted to stay home and like watch a TV show all night long, you could do that. From like 4 to 10.
Want to go get some dinner? Let's just cruise on out. You want to go get ice cream?
No
Let's
biggie.
Go.
No biggie.
Yeah.
Like, because there's no real consequences.
No.
Like the thing that you're doing, it's it is what it is. But kids.
Establishing, I understand what you're saying, establishing a prayer rule and, or not establishing a prayer rule, but making sure that your kids are exposed, quote unquote, to the church and its teachings as much as humanly possible. Yeah. There is something interesting that I've noticed with kids throughout my time serving beyond the altar and helping serve communion and all this kind of stuff. There is, I don't know, for lack of a better term, we kind of talked about it on Sunday too, like a veil that's there for us.
That's not there for them.
That's not there for them.
100%.
Complete with, I was actually a part of a mini exorcism.
Okay.
Which I don't mind sharing the story about, because I think it's kind of important to illustrate that, like, I went to a church in Northern California where I was...
Gross.
Gross.
I'm just kidding.
California sucks. I went to this church, and then this lady came into service one day, and she said, hey, she brought her baby to the priest, and she said something's wrong with this baby.
Yeah.
Like they're blah, blah, blah. And then so my priest that I was assisting at the time, he said, go get the holy water, meet me out, blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
The whole church was empty. It's after service. And she's beside herself because the kid's not eating, the kid's not sleeping.
Lord have mercy.
Like, there's a lot of stuff going on. And then so he started reading prayers of exorcism over the child. Now, as soon as he does this, the child
flips out.
Yeah. Now, the child wasn't flipping out before.
Yeah.
Again, this is me rationalizing what I'm seeing. I'm like, okay, the child was almost like eerily not participating in anything. Mother hands the baby just kind of out of it.
Yeah.
Out of it is a good way to put it.
Out of it.
And so he starts reading the prayers of exorcism, and the baby tries to rip the book out of his hand.
Yeah.
It's not a baby. It was probably about a 1 or 2 year old. Probably a 2 year old.
Okay.
The kid is like flailing.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm getting chills talking about it.
Yeah.
It was so bizarre. And you can say, like, and that was one of those moments that I try to cling to where I'm like, this is real. All of this, like, spiritual stuff, it's all real.
Yeah.
Because you can't explain that to me in a way where I'd be like, oh, yeah, it wasn't what
psychologically
I thought.
Or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I know what I saw. And it's the same thing so bringing it full circle, when I take my daughter into the prayer corner, my mother-in-law takes my daughter into the prayer corner. She smiles.
Yeah.
And now, baby, smile.
Sure.
Again, this is me rushing. You know what I'm doing.
Not like that, though.
But not like that.
Not like that.
Not like that. And it's almost every single time.
Oh, yeah.
That I take her into the prayer corner. And she can be despondent. And I take her into the prayer corner. And there's something there.
No, absolutely.
So, anyways, that's that. So, the veil for them is... So it's gone, and so they are like little sponges, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think Saint Paisios calls them carbon paper. Like everything that's ever put on the human soul stays there. It just stays there no matter what. Wow. It's not going anywhere. Which is why he's very cautious about what children see. You know, he says that it's very, very important to pay attention to what your children are seeing and experiencing. And I mean, yeah, that's
crazy.
That
makes sense.
That mini exorcism thing is real. The priest who baptized me, Father James, he's an incredible man, and he has a lot of stories. But one of them was that a child wasn't eating. The whole family was kind of just like, I mean, speaking of the spiritual health of a house, and he went around and they did they blessed the house. You know, they did all this stuff, blah blah blah. Child was screaming the entire time, and then like towards the end it started to calm down, and then for like the first time in a while it was like, oh, I want to eat. Like, does someone have a banana? Like, and like that's really important because like
demons are real, dude.
Well, no, I mean, without a doubt. And like I don't want to, I'm not really one of those like war story type of guys, but I've wholeheartedly experienced where it's like and it's not like even it's not even like it's not like a bad feeling. It transcends that because it's not just like an emotion, but like the like frenetic. I've talked about this before with my priest. Like the frenetic, like just like bad vibes that can happen when you were just like when you're around that kind of stuff. And like so this was during a time where that was like really kind of going on, and my daughter was flipping out, and she actually grabbed like a prayer book and threw it on the ground and like started stomping on it and stuff because it was under the guise of something else. She wanted to hold it, but we had given it to my son, and so she started flipping out about that. But that's not really what was going on, because I was feeling what was going on too. We were just under like heavy attack, to the point where it's like, no, this is nothing but demonic. Like, this is absolutely nothing but demonic. And like, and for kids, that's real. And like, like, I mean, without giving too much away, like there's like been centralized like areas of like the wah 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 wah, like the negative, and like my daughter's literally like pointing, be like, what's that? Like pointing at that exact area. And so the point of all this is to say, like, that can happen. Like that's absolutely like a possibility. That's like that, and God allows, so it's a very real possibility. So like having to be and feeding into anger, really, like especially irrational anger with your child, like that really feeds into it. It gives whatever that thing is power, so.
And pay attention. I'm telling any parent or new parent or old parent who hasn't tried this. And what I found is pay attention to the way your child is, the way your reaction is to your child. And it's almost like, they teach us in I feel like I keep trying to reach for you. It's weird. I'm like, I keep like.
It's okay. I'm not going anywhere.
So they teach us in counseling education that when someone's mad and escalating, you de-escalate by staying in the same tone. It's actually the same thing. In my experience, it's the same thing. Like tonight, when Eloise is freaking out, hey baby, what's going on, instead of going, why can't you, so I did both. I did both. But instead I'm like, oh baby, it's okay. And I'm perfectly calm, perfectly chill. She comes down so much quicker than when I'm going, why can't you burp?
I know.
Why can't you?
I know.
But it's those things, like, pay attention to that kind of stuff, and you'll see a marked difference.
Dude.
And we were talking about it at church too. It's like, I really feel like, I hope this was you I was talking
to. It could have been. It could have been someone else. If that's the case, I won't correct you on the air. I'll correct you.
Yeah, you'll correct.
Later.
Yeah, just tell me I'm stupid. But really, I think it was us that was talking about this stuff. I mean, we maybe didn't go into this deep, obviously, but really trying to focus on like having a spiritual life so that they can like absorb like the carbon paper, like Sergio said, like they can really start absorbing that. And I'm totally with you. Like I wouldn't be before she came into our lives. I did have a pretty regimented morning prayer rule, but I did it because it was regimented.
Yeah. Now it's needed.
Now it's needed.
Yeah.
And even the days where I don't want to do the quote unquote Jordanville prayer book, I found myself going, well, you know what? Go to your prayer corner and just pray.
Yeah. Oh.
And just do normal.
Sure.
What I consider normal, like in front of the
Just like-
icons, talking to Christ
Sure.
or praying before Christ, that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Asking for the intercessions of the saints, that kind of stuff. Doing my rope, and then that's it. And I'm like, boom. It keeps it fresh for me. It keeps it fresh. It keeps it like interesting, so I don't go, here we go with the Jordanville prayer book in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, amen.
Sure.
And because I can literally, I think I can almost recite the entire morning prayer section.
It's once you say it for a couple of years, without a doubt, you got it down. Yeah.
Now let me ask you a question. You were talking about you're establishing this kind of behavior in your house. Did that happen with Eloise?
Nah.
Did that happen with Louise, or did that happen post Louise when you've had maybe more of a spiritual in tune or awakening in the past, let's say 2 years?
If I'm understanding the question correctly, it's like basically like, did I start taking it more seriously with the spiritual atmosphere?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. I mean, you're blind to so much stuff when you don't have responsibilities, when you don't have a cross, when you don't have like things kind of keeping you in reality. That's one thing certainly my kids do, is keep me in reality, because if I start dozing off, if I start daydreaming in the middle of watching my children, they'll come up and they'll wake me from it. And oftentimes, a lot of times, my snappiest is when I'm on my phone, just doom scrolling, and then they come up and they, Dad, and then I'm like, what? Like, can I just get 5 minutes of peace? But I've been on my phone for like 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. So obviously, like, that time has come and gone. Mm-hmm. Of like, you've gone into, you're a zombie in front of your phone. But yeah, that happened really probably since 2020.
Okay. Nothing happened in the world at that time, so it was no.
I mean, there's no correlation between any world events that happened that maybe caused me to question the certain establishments and stuff like that.
Nope.
And maybe change my faith a lot more towards the church.
Nothing to see here.
Nothing to see or think about from back then.
Move on.
But
so that was a pivotal point where...
Sure, but like the need for prayer was established before that, because like I remember like when Louise was little, and my wife and I would be walking up and down the hallway with her for about an hour every night to try and get her to go to sleep, listening to that Sia album. There's only so many times. I'm
listen to this now, by the way.
I mean, it's not a bad album. It's really not. Like from beginning to end, it's really not. Like as far as a pop album goes, and she's a very good singer.
I'm not opposed to pop. So
no, I like me some pop. But there's only so long you can do that with a certain spiritual disposition, certainly receiving the sacraments before you start turning to marriage. Or not marriage. Well, marriage, but turning to prayer. Like there's only so long that you can be beaten down and be like kind of in like the emotional muck and mire of like self-pity and anger and helplessness and wishing things would change and stuff like that before you turn to prayer. Especially if you're, baptized Orthodox Christian, or certainly working at it. Right. There's only so long you can do that. So eventually like that prayer rule was established then, but then the physicality, the actual like manifestation, the incarnational aspect of my prayer life didn't come around until about 2020, when I actually was like, no, this literally physically affects more than just like my emotions. Right. Like this affects like my world around me. When I start praying, and when I start praying in a certain spirit, my reality literally changes. Like it literally changes. And not only that, but like I get pushback from it. I get pushback. I get negative feedback, from, things that don't really want me to be praying like that, to be praying in that sense. So, it's not even really a question at this point. Like my whole life still operates under under like, and, you know, some people spend their whole lives like wondering whether or not God is real, and it's like my whole life is spent like under the assumption at all times that God is real. Like it's like yeah, that's a long time ago. Like yeah, I've firmly entrenched God is real. Like God, the reality of God is real for me. It's not like I'm seeing angels. I'm not like talking with saints or anything like that. But I just know from a day-to-day basis, like I can try and ignore my spiritual life and act like everything's okay, everything's fine, it's not a big deal, move on. I can listen to some music, I can change or something like that. But the fact of the matter is, like at a certain point, like it's just like that itch that just kind of keeps getting at you, and it's suddenly you're just like, you know, and then you turn to prayer, and then suddenly it's just like your whole world changes. So having to recognize like the reality of God every day is one of the many benefits of having children, because they kind of don't allow you to not, especially if you're an Orthodox Christian and you're trying to be a good parent. Yeah.
I forget every single day what you just said. Every single day I forget that, like, you know, I've been in turmoil recently because, like I said, my wife's going back to work. We never wanted her to go back to work, but the real estate market hasn't been providing the fruit that it's been providing the last few years. So it's kind of a readjustment period for us.
Hey, Biff, don't worry. It'll turn around. It'll turn around.
That's from Back to the Future 2?
Oh, it could be.
That's from Biff was in...
No, that's from Death of a Salesman.
Oh.
Yeah.
Biff. I was thinking Biff.
Well, no, there's Biff. Yeah.
But I, you know, thinking about it, and it's been kind of a stressor for me, but thinking about it and being like, okay, well, you know, she wants to be home. I want her to be home.
Sure.
But we're having to have her go back to work and everything. But, you know, my whole life a couple weeks ago was just kind of like crumbly a little bit, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And where was my prayer life? I'm going to give you two guesses as where my prayer life was when my life was crumbly a couple weeks ago.
Probably not so hot.
Not so hot.
Yeah.
Not so hot. Start praying again.
Yeah.
It's weird things start improving.
Yeah, it's weird.
You know, it's
weird how, like, you know, those problems that seem so big start to get smaller, things start to get shored up, you start to be able to, like, focus a little bit better.
I'm stressed out about work, about this, about that, and then all of a sudden those edges get dulled by prayer.
Yeah.
You know, and again, I sound like, if you would have told me 12 years ago, Andrew, that I'd be sitting here talking like this.
Tell me about it.
I would have slapped my own face.
Yeah.
But I became an Orthodox Christian. I believe all this stuff because proof, right? Yeah. I'm a man dictated by Andrew likes me because he wants to sit across the table from me and talk to me. That is proof that Andrew likes me.
There you go.
The proof is always there.
In the pudding. Okay.
In the pudding.
Yeah.
It is always in the pudding. What does that mean?
I don't know. There's something about maybe like
alcohol?
Maybe start checking your pudding for clues or something before you eat it. You just check to see if there's like a bloody knife or something.
Like the game clue?
Yeah, like the game clue.
Like Colonel Mustard hid the candlestick
in the observatory. Yeah, in the observatory. That's a good game.
He's always in the observatory.
He's always in the observatory.
Son of a gun.
Yeah.
But like, and then I get an important email yesterday from somebody that I've been trying to round up as far as business goes. Okay. And I'm like, why? Like, why do I keep getting shocked by this?
I know.
It's like this cycle I go through where
everybody starts at zero every day. Like
every day.
Every day. Like my priest always said that. Like my baptizing priest. He was a very good and practical priest. I really like him quite a bit. My current spiritual father is much more suited to deal with me. Well, what? I mean,
sorry. See, that's why I don't listen to anything that we say.
You're not wrong. I mean, but like I think that like in the sense of like in the end days, like the whack jobs will be seen as sane and the sane will be seen as whack jobs. So like, I mean,
there is nobody more fitted to run us kooks than him.
But one of the discrepancies, that's not even the right word. One of the things that just didn't mesh quite well is that Father James was a very, very type A personality.
Right.
He was very driven. There was nothing complex about anything. If you have a problem, do your prostration. Like, you know, like prayer rules should be arduous. Life should be, difficult. And yeah, all that stuff is true, like without a doubt. But he said every day that like you start at 0 and you have to build your way up. And then we work all day to get a little bit of peace in the evening, like after you finish your prayer rule in the evening, and that we work all day to get that little bit of peace as encouragement. And he said, life is like it's like you're on an escalator going the opposite way. Anytime you're not climbing, you're kind of going backwards.
Yeah.
But one of the things that been mesh well between Father James and I is he's the type A personality. He's older than I am. Never really suffered from addiction like I did or anything like that. There's just certain things I couldn't talk to him about. I was really into like some really bad music at the time. We've talked about this before, black metal and like death metal. And not that all that stuff is bad or that I stopped listening to all of it, because I still do listen to some of it. But I couldn't talk to him about it. He didn't know what I was talking about. And then I remember thinking, I was like driving or something like that. And I was like, man, I can't imagine finding a priest that would be into comic books and metal that I could talk to him about that. Right. And then, lo and behold, just Turbo at the time, before he was father, I met Turbo. And we were at our first conversation. I don't think that he'd ever remember this, but I think he asked me, we were sitting down, we were talking for a little bit. I think Father Justin had kind of pointed him out to me and said, hey, go talk to this guy. He's kind of lost right now, because truth be told, I absolutely was. And he walked up to me and we were talking a little bit, and he said something along the lines of like, what Alternative Tentacles is? Say, oh yeah, it's Jello Biafra's like label.
God,
and
it's so nerdy.
He smiled like right away. He's like, I'm so glad you knew what that was. And I was just like, all right, cool. And then like from that, like it wasn't from that moment on, because we certainly had to build up our relationship, but like
you're a slow burn. You know that, right?
Well, I guess. I don't know that. I like to think I'm a flash in the pan. That's what I think.
Well, what I mean by that is like I think we were immediate friends.
Sure.
When we met, but it took us a while to get to like where I think we are. Where we could
text each other and be like, "Yo, dude, check this out," or something
like
that. Yeah.
And within the last few years, I would say.
Sure.
Because I think I'm the churchgoer that no matter what's going on, I'm in. I'm just going to church. Sure. Even if I'm going through the motions.
Sure.
And correct
At least
me if
you're
I'm
there.
wrong.
At least you're there.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but you would kind of dip in and out when I first met you.
Oh, absolutely. I was not sold.
Okay.
I knew I wanted to be Orthodox, but I wasn't sold.
I'm not sold
parish.
still.
Sure.
But I'm just that guy.
Sure.
I have to go to church, even if I'm faking it.
Sure.
I have to go.
Yeah.
But with you, I think that's where we were always not intersecting.
Yeah.
And our community wasn't what it is now.
It was a far cry from what it was now.
I would agree with that. Yeah. And we're not trying to slander anybody.
No.
We could and we should.
When we should. We'll do that later on when we actually have a list of names. Hey, here's the problem with this guy.
And that's on our Patreon. Subscribe to our Patreon, where we run down all the former priests we've ever run into.
Subscribe to our Patreon, where we go through the parishioners of our parish, and we just go through and tell you everything that's wrong with them, everything that like we don't like about it. It'll be called the airing of grievances, and it'll take place for the last 10 minutes.
The low price of $5.
Just the low price. You can get all the hot goss.
The hot tea.
Uh-huh.
Isn't that what they call it, tea or whatever?
I think that's what the kids call it now.
But I think so. Anyways, this isn't the Andrew hour where I'm gonna dissect how you're a slow burn.
I just had this hour. The Andrew hour is my favorite hour.
We work all day to have the Andrew hour.
I am all about the Andrew hour. If I would get Andrew hour tattooed on me. I'd just be like, hey man, let's just get.
And then every time
Andrew
something,
hour.
You're just like,
no. Or look at the clock.
Like what time is it?
Between the 9 and 11 is taken out, and you just take the 10 and it just says Andrew hour, and be like, no, it's Andrew hour. Please,
time.
Leave me alone.
Oh, do the shoe away.
Yeah. I don't remember what we were talking about.
But we were talking about you being a slow burn. But anyways, so you were talking about Father Turbo and about how you guys were immediate friends, but.
Well, yeah, and then you're absolutely right.
Or immediate acquaintances, and it took you a while.
And you're right. Like my wife and I both, like we would probably go to 3 liturgies a month, and that'd be about it. Maybe occasionally we would like I would go to like a Vesper service or something and be like, treat please from God. Be like, come on, I went out of my way. It's
Pavlov's
Wednesday.
dog. You hit the bell. You're like,
oh yeah, 100%. I'd be like, it's Wednesday. I could be at home watching TV, but I'm here. Come on.
Grace.
Let's get some grace and
Grace.
some peace.
No.
But
Grace,
I mean,
please.
I mean, at a certain point, yeah, we all got kind of called out of camps. So
We did.
Man,
this last.
I'm just saying.
It's been good.
I'm cool with it.
It's been good.
I'm cool with it, and I've definitely upped my participation in the community. I've definitely upped my attendance. I actually, I've upped my my praxis a little bit, and trying a little bit harder.
Praxis?
Well, praxis is practice. It's the work that you put in as an Orthodox Christian. It's like, it's your prayer life. It's it's the practice.
You write that down.
And
then leave it there so I can read it every day.
So that later on you can look it up.
Yes, please, thank you.
But definitely just trying a little bit harder.
Okay.
So, yeah. But then what? Because you're from California.
Mm-hmm.
What year did you move here to Missouri?
2017. Wait.
No.
Nope. 2018. We moved here 2018.
Are you okay? I guess you would be sure. No, yeah, because that's the year my daughter was born. I don't.
Wait, 2017. I can't remember.
Okay,
I've been here.
I think it'd be
years.
17. I think it'd be 17 because there was that camp out.
Yes.
And you were like, "Hey, bro, non-alcoholic," and you handed it to me. And I don't think I had Louise yet.
You did not.
I did not have Louise, so that would have been 17 because she was born in 18.
Okay, so 17.
And I realized earlier, I think I said that she was born in 2016.
I actually was here the end of 2016, and then we officially moved January 2017.
Were you here for my wedding?
I was not.
Okay, so then that was the very, very end of 2016 then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was here, but I wasn't invited because I was staying in a hotel.
Hey.
I mean, we didn't know each other.
You don't have to come up with an excuse for why you didn't go to my wedding.
That's we know each other. But Jason was the first person I met in the church, and then I was like, I like this guy, and I still like Jason.
I think that's
he's
probably
a kook.
A lot of.
I love him.
I think it's Jason's probably a lot of the. He's probably a lot of the first people. He's the person that a lot of people meet for the first time.
Yep.
Yeah, for the first. Yeah.
Because he's that guy.
He's that guy.
I talked to a brother at the church today, and I talked to him a long time on the phone.
Didn't care for it. Did not
Hated
care for
him so much.
Did not care for it.
Patreon.com/Paredox. You get all the dish. But I had no idea who he was. I have not met him, but we had a commonality, a common bond.
There you go.
And we had a nice conversation, and now I look forward to seeing whoever this mystery man was on the phone. Because I am terrible at going outside the box and introducing myself to other people. I'm terrible.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's hard.
I like my group. I like you guys. I like my circle.
The group is easy.
It is.
But I would say that the problem with it is
don't challenge me to talk to anybody.
I'm going to challenge you, and this is going to be part of the podcast is Andrew's challenge. But the challenge that I run into a lot is, especially at social events, is that I'm having a good time with the group of people I'm talking to or whatever, and I look over and I see that loner sitting by himself or sitting by herself, and it's so hard for me to tear myself away from that group to go sit with that person. That a lot of times it's like ripping off a Band-Aid. I just gotta do it. And I'm not saying I do it all the time, but and I find actually one of the big barometers of certainly my spiritual life, and I'm a drug addiction counselor as well. That the people I counsel, a big barometer is how they're feeling about people at that time. If they're feeling especially rejected, if they're feeling especially feeling sorry for themselves, nobody likes me here, everybody's cliquey, blah blah blah, a lot of arguments you can make about a community, is that they're not doing well spiritually. There's something that we need to work on there. And I don't boast the same arsenal as a priest or spiritual father, but there's observances I can do and things I can see.
Right.
And that's a big red flag for me is when I start getting resentful because say I didn't get invited over to the popular table, blah blah blah, quote unquote, the popular table or whatever, or nobody said hi to me in the right way or something like that. If I find myself getting resentful about that, I need to immediately like check myself because I've got the wrong attitude, and because I find things are a lot easier when I take the attitude of a servant, and the servant goes out of the way to like try and sit with a person who's not got anyone sitting with them, or my favorite, go do dishes. That's my favorite. That's my favorite, especially for our coffee hour. Is like if I'm feeling that way, I need to go spend some time doing dishes and like literally cleaning the crud off of people's plates.
Yeah.
Because that's the position that like puts me in a better spot of like, no, I'm a servant. This is my job, is to be a servant. So and then that way usually I'm brought down a little bit because it's hard to be prideful when you're
scraping crud off,
scooping like shrimp mud veins or something like into the trash or something like that. Okay. All right, I'm just gonna go ahead and ask you to stop right there. We don't need to talk about mud vein right now.
Yeah, well, that's podcast number 2.
Yeah.
It's all about how orthodoxy and mud vein can coexist.
They can. I mean, they can.
I think so.
I mean,
we really do have to. It would be a service to our fellow Orthodox Christians if we do a whole episode about music. And about,
no, I think it would be a recurring theme without a doubt. I mean, because
I get that all the time. Like, can I listen to black metal? Like, should I listen to black metal? And not that we're going to tell anybody exactly what to listen, but
we can tell you what it bothers, what it bothers me, what bothers me about black metal and stuff like that. So,
and what we find may be troublesome, spiritually detrimental, or spiritually uplifting about certain things. The one thing we can all agree on is that we should never listen to Korn.
I would agree with that.
No matter what spiritual state we're in.
No matter what spiritual state we're in. In fact, I would say that's a bigger barometer. Is if you're listening to Korn, you might really want to.
You might be a redneck.
You might be a redneck. I mean, you might want to.
If you're doing meth and listening to Korn, you're from Bakersfield.
I mean, I wasn't gonna say it. I was like,
Father Turbo always says I'm from Bakersfield, like a real.
Where are you from?
I'm from Lancaster, California.
What? Okay. Is that better?
I said that all seriously. I'm like Lancaster.
Lancaster,
California.
Is that better?
No.
Oh, see, I don't know. I don't know. You could have been like, that could have been an opportunity right there to have been like, yeah, dude, a lot of cool people have come from Lancaster, California.
Frank Zappa graduated from my high school.
Okay.
Well, and Frank Zappa, if you like his music, I'm sorry.
Oh, you don't like his music?
Way too out there for me.
Yeah, I could see that. It's one of those, I don't have time for him anymore. Like, with my music, like, that's another part that, like,
about being
a parent is, like, the time, and, like, I said this to someone not too long ago, and I think it's perfect. It's like, I don't mind experimental music, but, like, I need to be home by 9 o'clock. Like, you wrap it up in 6-7 minutes, and I'm good.
Mars Volta. Wrap up the song, bros.
Dude. I actually just listened to them the other day. I was like,
14 minutes, bro. Like, why?
No, I know. It's that Francis the Mute album.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
And I was just like, so much of this, and, explicit warning, so much of this seems so masturbatory. Right. It's like they're just showing off to see how cool they can be, and
that's most of those jam bands, though.
That's how I feel about it myself, personally. Like, they're without a doubt incredibly musicians, but it's just like...
Grateful Dead, they suck.
I, to this day, still cannot get a read on what the Grateful Dead sound like. I've never really sat and listened to them. Like,
would you like to hear some right now?
Not really, no. I'm not even saying that they're bad. I've just never really sat and listened. Like, them and Fish and stuff like that. Like, I've never really sat and listened to it.
There we go.
That's a pretty good experience.
And 14 minutes, just loop that, and then you have the Grateful Dead. I'm just kidding. I probably alienated so many Orthodox Grateful Dead fans.
Is that a Venn diagram? Is there a strong Venn diagram of Orthodox fans and Orthodox Christians and Grateful Dead fans?
Ooh, that is something. Ooh, I wish we had more time because that is something I want to talk about. I want to talk about Orthodox celebrities. Remind me.
How far are we in?
We're almost an hour in.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And we promised each other we wouldn't do the whole marathon
Yeah.
podcast.
No. I mean, I think it
situation.
should be organic. So if we feel like we need to.
I feel like this has been pretty organic. Like, I'm not even kidding. I feel like we've been talking and I forgot that we're doing I vaguely remember doing a podcast.
Yeah.
Or what we're calling a podcast or a YouTube show or whatever the heck this is going to. I am going to work really hard.
on not swearing.
Ooh.
Not swearing is difficult. It's difficult.
Brother, dude.
But you know what's nice about not swearing?
I have a potty mouth. Oh my god.
You know what's nice about not swearing is when you do swear, everyone's like,
oh dude,
snap.
Totally.
Yeah, like, yeah, it's good.
I mean, I said the F-bomb so much, everyone's like, God, Gabe, tone it down a little bit.
you're-
I'm like, what? We're just in the narthex.
Yeah. Yeah. Man.
Nothing, by the way, nothing is more annoying to me than when my wife calls out my swearing. Like if
Really?
I'm down in the basement and I'll say like something, and then she'll be like, "We're in the basement of the church." I'm like, "Shut up."
Yeah.
Well, actually, when she calls me out on anything, it's annoying because I don't like being called out because I am an egomaniac.
Well, me too. With an inferiority complex. So, I mean, I think that's what a good wife does. I mean, I know it sucks, but like that's what a good wife does. Like behind every great man, there's a woman rolling her eyes. So, I mean,
Where'd you hear that?
I don't know.
That's
It's somewhere.
amazing.
It's not an Andrew original.
That's
without a doubt,
amazing, though.
But like, you know, yeah, it's good. It's good.
So let's wrap this up, and we'll talk about what can. Well, do we even need to talk about what we're going to talk about in later shows, or they can expect? This is kind of what they can expect.
Yeah, this will probably
We're
be
gonna
more or less it.
We're going to time jump back and forth. We're going to talk about random crap in the middle of our deep conversation.
Not very succinct. Not very like on train. Well, the train, she is crazy. So, you know.
And if anyone out there has any technical ability to draw us a logo, maybe we should put somebody to work and say, like, draw us a logo that says Paredox on it or something.
Yeah, I don't know anybody, so I don't.
I could hire someone from Fiverr.
There you go.
But it's going to be some guy from Bangladesh who, like, will draw cartoon drawings of me and you, which might be kind of funny.
Yeah. I don't know. We should definitely get an Orthodox person to do it because then maybe.
God, they take so long.
Long is good. Nothing good happens. Nothing good happens quickly. Yeah.
I disagree.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Have you ever played like? I was gonna say Mario, but that's a long game too.
It is a long Pokemon Snap. Pokemon Snap was only like a half hour long. That game was only about a half hour long.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's like really. If just to get to like the main campaign, yeah, it's like maybe an hour. Like, because you can't die, and like all you do is just go through the levels. And I think you have to like take pictures of certain Pokemon to like be able to pass that level. But I remember it being pretty easy. I mean, I was like 10.
Do you play video games anymore?
Oh gosh, no, I don't play video games anymore for a number of reasons. And I won't get into it, but it's a giant time suck.
It is,
and like,
man, it's fun.
I know. No, they're awesome, and like
I'm surprised because I think that would be a nerd thing we could share too. Is like video games.
I'll certainly talk about like anything pre. I think I stopped really playing about Xbox 360 is when I was done.
It's not too long ago.
No. It was within the time that me and my wife have been together, because she literally was like, I don't want to be married to a guy who plays a ton of video games. And I was just like...
You would say that.
I mean, she's not wrong.
She's not wrong.
Like, there's nothing inherently wrong with video games in and of themselves, but, like, you know, this is a whole different, like, rabbit trail. So I don't want to go down it, but there's definitely, like, a man who's, like, still playing video games pretty religiously, especially when it's coupled with smoking pot. For real, there is a link between video games, porn, and pot. Like,
I believe it.
Yeah, like
I believe it.
When you're caught up in all three of those, and it's very easy for a man to fall into those three things, like you're pretty much like castrated at that point. Like all the three things that you're really supposed to do as a man are all being your needs are being bastardized. They're not even like being taken away. They're being morphed. They're being distorted. Like, so you've got your need to like procreate. Well, there's porn. You know, you got your need to like get your sense of accomplishment in for the day. Video games kind of give you that, and then your need, like no man should really feel right within reason. You know, sitting around all day and doing nothing. Well, what's a way to get rid of that feeling is smoking pot. So you kind of find a way to make peace with staying at home and playing video games and looking at porn, all the while your soul is dying and you can feel it. But you do this stuff to take the edge off, and it's a nonstop cycle. Blah 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 blah.
What kind? I just can't imagine, like being a woman or being me or being anybody and wasting that much. I love video games, but come on.
I know.
Come on, dude. At a certain age, if you're not getting paid to do it.
And it's insane.
Like, I feel bad, like, wasting this hour and 15 minutes. I'm like, I could be doing so much. No, I'm just kidding.
Well.
But you know what I mean? Like, why? Like, no self-respecting woman would be like, oh, my man loves to play 7 hours of video games.
I know.
That's not a thing.
It's difficult.
It's not a thing.
Yeah. And, like, the problem is like, by their nature, you can't just pick them up, really. A lot of the games that I was playing anyway.
Right.
You can't just pick them up, play it for like an hour, and then you're done. It takes me like an hour to get into it.
Yeah.
And then, okay, now I'm cool for the next 5 hours, you know, to sit and just do this in front of a TV.
Yeah.
And again, not that they're inherently wrong. I just went over to a brother from the church's house not too long ago, and we sat around and played video games for like an hour or something like that. It was fun. Like, you know, it was cool.
Will suck you in like that.
But
like I'm just a random games out from church.
Man,
Will's listening to this. He's like, I don't play video games.
That's
like, yes, you do, Will. You do now in our world.
That's the problem with Will. He's always trying to get me to just waste all my time playing video games. But no, I mean, we played Battlefront 2. We played like some kind of like X-Men fighting game, which was awesome. It was a great time. Like, I had a good time.
Yeah, and then you left.
And then I left.
And things were great.
I didn't really think about them too much afterwards. It didn't awaken a huge passion in me, but it is something that like I do have to keep an eye on, because literally there's a time where I was playing this like Star Wars Online MMO game.
Oh, you were in the Star Wars game.
Oh man,
I know some people that are really into that game. But still,
it's a and the problem is it's a fantastic game.
Yeah,
it's super fun. It's super fun. It avoids a lot of the mistakes that a lot of other MMOs make. And it's just a lot of fun. And like literally. My girlfriend, now wife, was like, I'm leaving you because you are playing video games too much. And I stopped playing them right then and there, but she was still like, yeah, I'm done with you for a while. Like, you were sitting there waiting for me to leave every night so that you could sit around and play video games and get drunk. So.
Dang.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. That's what we in the business call a rock bottom.
Yes, yes. And, you know, the nerds that are listening to this right now are going to be disgusted. I am still playing God of War.
Sure.
And I've had that game for 2 years since it came out, and I still haven't completed it. Because that's how infrequently I play it. Yeah. And it's one of those things where I'll come back to it, and I'm like, where am I?
Yeah, what's going on here?
Wait, and then I'll have to, like, read the little clues on the screen, and I'm like, I guess I'll just follow the little beacon thing. And go there in that direction. I don't even remember, but I will tell you my sobriety story. Not the full thing, but what helped me get sober and stay away from the bar was playing God of War 2 on the PS2, I think it was.
Sure. And
I would come home from work every night, and I would just sit there and play that till I fell asleep, and then I'd repeat the cycle. Amen. Because it just distracted me from the bar.
100%.
So
Star Wars: The Clone Wars, the show, show. Yeah. Every night, I still lived with my roommate who was using. I told him I was going to get sober, and he was still using, but was like, yeah, I'm not going to stop. And so I would go in from work, because I was working a night job at the time. I'd go in, I'd walk straight up to my room, shut the door, I'd have food from my restaurant job. I would sit there, and I would eat, and I would watch episode after episode after episode of Clone Wars, of Clone Wars, and just sit there and eat and then pass out. You know, and that's how I spent probably my first 25, 30 days in sobriety.
Me too.
It was just like doing stuff. I mean, when I'm sponsoring people, like I let people get away with a lot of heinous stuff within their first year of recovery. Like heinous within reason. I'm like, go eat ice cream, go eat candy,
right.
You know, go get soda, watch tons of TV, do what you got to do to get through the day.
Smoke a bunch of cigarettes, whatever you need.
Smoke a lot of cigarettes, drink coffee.
I'm the same way.
Whatever, gain weight. I trust a little bit more when people gain weight rather than start getting super into working out. because that can be its own high, and I've seen that burn people out too.
Dude.
So, and then that's a short walk to steroids. So
I wish I was on steroids, but that's for a whole other podcast.
Dude, it would be so nice because
I'm 42, man.
I'm feeling you though. Like it's hard.
It's hard, dude.
It's hard.
And it gets harder as you get older.
I know. I was talking to my wife about this the other day. I was like,
Gabe's so old.
Yeah, I was like, man,
Gabe's a dinosaur.
Man, somebody stick that. He belongs in a museum. But I was talking to my wife. I was like, if my 25-year-old body or my 25-year-old consciousness could like go into my 34-year-old body, which is how old I am now, I would just be like, are you sick or something? It's like, no, this is just the way it is all the time. Like, I mean, when you don't particularly take care of your body, this is just the way things are all the time.
All the time.
So,
and it takes a long time to get into, because I know anyways, man, we're gonna go a long time.
Sure. That's okay. I told you. I think the hardest part was keeping it to an hour. I thought that it. So we'll just do what we do. We'll say let's wrap it up in 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Say the next 10.
Because I know you're trying to work out, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Right? Which, by the way, we could again do another whole podcast about working out.
Sure.
Because I think it's very.
Not so much working out as intermittent fasting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were actually trying to like.
Yeah, I was.
Pump.
And then. Without getting too into it, like my wife got that into the van accident, and I just was like, I didn't care for like 3 days after that, and then by that time I fell out. So I'm trying to get back into it.
Right.
But as of right now, I am.
It's extremely important to take care of your body in any way,
Absolutely.
whether it's intermittent fasting or whatever, or working out. But boy, it's definitely like it is really hard to get on, and then when you get off, to get back on.
Forget about it.
Ever since I've had Eloise, I'm like, I mean, I was working out religiously for 2 years.
Sure.
Since COVID happened.
Sure.
I was really wasn't like a model or anything, but I was cool with myself.
Sure.
I was like, dude,
you're comfortable.
Comfortable, man. Fitting in all my clothes, looking good in a pair of jeans. I'm like, good. Don't need to have a 6-pack. I'm 40.
Sure. Yeah.
Who needs a 6-pack? Although it would be cool.
But
then that's when steroids, the thought, and I work in pro wrestling, so some people are on steroids.
No.
Not the guys I know. They're all clean.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, I was like, man, like I could go on a cycle right now and like get some testosterone. But then I can see myself getting really into.
Have you tried maca root?
No.
Yeah. So here, I'm going to recommend you try maca root.
Okay.
And I guarantee probably your wife knows what maca root is.
Well, I'm sure she does.
But it's like a hormone balancer for men.
Okay.
And again, don't listen to me. Like anybody.
We are not doctors.
No, we're not doctors. But like I take it and I find it helps give me testosterone. Okay. Not in like a weird way. I'm just like, from what I understand, it just is supposed to like balance male hormones. So I take it.
We have hormones?
Boy, do we ever. Do we ever. Because like every time my wife gets pregnant, I gain like 30 pounds. And that's because of my hormones, Gabe. That's not because of my poor diet and lack of exercise. That's my hormones. That's not because I was like...
I don't know why it tickled me so much. You're like, boy, do we ever.
It wasn't because I started eating meat again and suddenly had all these fast food options available to me. I was like, I could just go to Wendy's. Like, I haven't been able to eat at the Wendy's in like almost a decade. And
can we do a whole podcast about your journey back to meat?
I mean, yeah, we could. I tell you what I don't want this podcast to be is a lot of me talking about me. But so let's try and avoid those choppy waters, because Andrew can go on about Andrew, but Andrew doesn't want to go on about Andrew. And in the final days, Andrew will have to stand before Saint Andrew, talk about why Andrew talked about Andrew so much. Saint Andrew's gonna be pissed at Andrew.
Yeah.
So.
But to your defense, you spend a lot of your day listening to people.
Yeah,
and I hope I hope you don't interject, because I used to when I was a counselor.
Yeah.
I used to be like, let me tell you about me for a second.
Sure.
And I would catch myself and I'd be like, what am I doing? Like, you're supposed to be actively listening to
me. But at the same time, like...
They don't have anything interesting to say.
They don't really. And I mean, like, a lot of times it's like, yeah, your dad was a piece of crap. I'm like, I get it. Sure. Is it like, yeah, you ran away when you're like 16, got into drugs.
Smoked your first... okay.
Yeah, then, whatever. And then like, but usually in the first session I try and run through.
Right.
Like, just so it gains credibility in their eyes. And a lot of times, like, they want to listen to you.
Right.
So I tell you what I can't do a lot of times is like I'm very difficult coming home and processing my wife's feelings with her, because a lot of times she has feelings, and then I'll come home and then like it takes a lot of strength for me to be like, okay, all right, we're gonna back in, like turn back on the brain, the counselor brain. So because I just
what's it like to have a wife with feelings?
I'm
just kidding.
I would discourage it, you know? Like, if you could just get...
I'm the emotional... I'm joking because I'm the emotional one in our relationship.
Yeah?
Oh, dude.
You're a lot more
I
unbalanced.
need to be touched.
Sure.
I need to be... I cry at everything.
Sure. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with
TV
that.
shows, commercials.
So maca root will give you a lot more testosterone.
So
no, I'm
are you
just
trying
kidding.
to say so?
No. I'm just kidding. No. I haven't cried... I try, if I haven't cried in a couple days, like, and I'm feeling weird, I just try and find a good cry. Like, you know, just for like, because that's that middle road that I work on with the men I counsel, because I only counsel men. Because I wouldn't know how to counsel a woman, because my whole thing
I think that's smart.
I mean, it's basically like, you know, don't be a wimp. Like, be a man. Like, it's time to be a man. Like, you've been off in La La Land for years, hiding from reality. Well, sorry, reality's scary, and it's brutal, and it's rough. I don't know what to tell you. You've been hiding from it for a long time, like a little, you know. But, like, I get it. I was there. But at the same time, like, cry, express your emotions, but get on with it. Like, you know, realize where you're at, realize what you're feeling. That's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. And like a lot of times dudes are even scared to get into their feelings because they have this picture of like them sobbing next to the therapist and the box of Kleenex. He's like, he just didn't love me enough. It's like, yeah, that does happen sometimes, but a lot of times it looks more just like, huh. You know, like, oh, I guess I didn't realize I did feel that way.
Right.
You know, like, I guess I didn't realize that, like, that did bother me, that, like, that happened to me when I was a kid, you know?
Right.
So, you know, so it's like, figure out how you're feeling, but at the same time, like, don't wallow in it.
Right.
You know, because that's
important.
That's the error on the left side. It's just like wallowing it. It's an excuse. It's a reason to like not participate in reality fully.
Right.
You know,
reason to stop doing whatever, like your prayers, whatever. Just like, oh, you know, God, I'm so miserable, right? Oh, how many times have we heard like, oh, I just can't bear to do X, Y, and Z. Especially nowadays, there's such a martyrdom in the wrong sense of the word.
Yeah, that's a whole episode in and of itself. Is
gosh.
like this whole victim culture.
Oh
thing.
gosh,
yeah.
Father Turbo said it really well in an episode of the not mentioned.
Yeah, there's a podcast out there where that Father Turbo's on.
He's kind of become an Orthodox celebrity.
That's the word on the street. That's the word on the street. So, yeah.
What are we gonna do?
I'm just gonna probably.
What are you gonna do?
I'm probably just gonna keep reading comic books and like watching Star Wars.
Do you have a good recommendation for those people out there for a comic book? Or I think what we should do is we're gonna wrap this up.
Yeah.
Give us a good comic book recommendation, and I'll hit a music recommendation. How about that?
So recently, I mean, it depends, because if someone were to ask me what a comic they should read, I'd be like, okay, well, what are you into right now? What are you looking at? What kind of TV shows do you like and stuff like that? But recently, a brother from the church hit me up asking about Batman comics and what I should look into there. He said he was looking for something really gritty and noir-y and stuff like that. And I said Batman Year One is always good. That's Frank Miller, and then I always forget the artist's name. Mazzucchelli. Mazzucchelli's the artist. And it's an absolute piece of work. It's a piece of art. It's a work of art. It's absolutely incredible from beginning to end. Frank Miller is probably the best, in my opinion, best writer for Batman. One of them. There's a lot of them, but he's a very, very good Batman writer. And he, in my opinion, wrote the quintessential Batman story, which is The Dark Knight Returns, which is just one of the greatest, comic books of all time. But yeah, I mean, if someone out there is hankering to read a comic, for whatever reason, Batman Year One, you can always do a lot worse than that one. That's a fantastic comic. So, and
you'll be surprised what kind of eventual. See, someone's gonna go back because we're gonna get super huge in this podcast, right? Like because there's no podcast. See, we're blazing a trail.
We're blazing a trail
because there are no podcasts out there.
None.
I mean, I can't find a single one.
We are starved for content.
There's not any content out there. So someone's gonna listen to this when we get big, and they're gonna listen to episode 1, and they're gonna be like, "Batman Year 1."
Batman Year 1. I remember when Andrew recommended Batman Year 1 that one time in episode 1.
Yep.
Frank Miller is personally going to come and thank me for the boost in his sales. Yeah.
Thank you, Paredox.
I'd be like, you're welcome.
Thank you, Paredox.
You're welcome.
And I'm joining your Patreon now to get all the dirt about all the people at your church.
And then what that will actually be is a lecture on forgiveness and overlooking other people's sins. So.
And looking at yourself.
Because that's what's probably irritating you. What's the music?
Go listen to Charlie Crockett. I'm going to go see Charlie Crockett tomorrow night at the Uptown Theater with some guys from the church. And it's going to be awesome. Charlie Crockett is an amazing country. He's basically Western. Like if there is a difference between country and Western.
Yeah, there is.
But man, his last album, Man from Waco, dude. If you want a really good country record, Charlie Crockett's Man from Waco.
If you want to piss your pants from crying so hard, listen to this album. Listen to this.
Wait, what album would that be?
The one you're talking about.
You want to piss your
pants from crying so hard? Yeah. That's what. Have I ever peed from crying so hard? I don't think so. No, but I
Why do I kind of want to?
I know a dude that one night, he's not an alcoholic or anything, although you wouldn't guess it from the story. But a buddy of mine's brother, in one night, got really drunk, lost his wallet, keys, and phone, threw up on himself, pooped himself, and peed himself, all in one night, just from drinking. Like,
Well, that tells you he's not an alcoholic.
Well, because the man is truly not. Like, I still know him to this day. Like,
no, that's what I'm saying. You by that
series
of events, a true alcoholic rarely shits himself.
Yeah.
Did I just say it?
You did, but that's okay.
That's great. We'll move past it.
We'll put a swear jar down or something like that.
We should.
Yeah.
I'll fill that bad boy.
And then it'll go to the church. We'll donate it to the church.
There you go.
There you go.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Podcast idea number 1.
Yeah. So we got to come with a couple singles to every episode with a couple single dollar bills.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, every time we cuss it.
Not for the strippers.
No, that would be $2. You're up to $2 now right now. So we'll just be sure and next time you see it, there'll be $2 in a swear jar right there. So
how do I do this?
I don't know.
Why do I do this?
I don't know.
You're ashamed of me right now.
No. Hey, Gabe, I'm feeling a lot of emotions right now. None of them are shame. I can tell you that much. That's not even in the picture right now.
Okay. All right.
But
it was fun. This was good.
This was good.
This was good. I feel like people will attach to this and will become mega stars. And then what we'll do is we'll tour the country will be the Paredox tour, and we'll just sit up here and we'll take questions.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, if they got questions, they can ask.
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess we'll have to figure out some contact info.
We'll do that at a later time. I'm tired.
Yeah, at some point, yeah. Or it's not going to be tonight, so.
It's definitely not going to be tonight. Anyways, thanks for listening to Paredox. We will see you next time here.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.